Hi, and welcome to week 4. So, in week 4, we're going to start out with chapter 7 PowerPoint. So, let's pull that up. Okay, so chapter 7 Negative Messages. Okay, the first learning objective understanding the strategies of business understanding the strategies of business communicators in conveying negative news. Okay, so we're talking about the strategies now. So, goals of communicating negative news. You need to explain clearly and completely, projecting a professional image, conveying empathy and sensitivity, being fair and impartial, maintaining friendly relations. Be helpful if I could talk tonight. Okay, so learning outcome 2. Compare the techniques and ethics of the direct and indirect strategies in communicating unfavorable news. Okay, let's move this up a little bit. So first, we have the direct strategy, and then we have the indirect strategy. Direct strategy, when the bad news is not damaging, when the receiver may overlook the bad news, when the organization or receiver prefers directness, and when firmness is necessary. That's when you use the direct strategy. Indirect strategy is when the bad news is personally upsetting, when the bad news will provoke a hostile reaction, when the bad news threatens the customer relationship, and when the bad news is unexpected. Okay. So, comparing strategies for delivering negative news indirect and direct. So, the direct is bad news, reasons, closing. Indirect is buffer, reasons, bad news, closing. Okay. So, 4-part indirect strategy for bad news. The buffer, when with a neutral but meaningful statement that does not mention the bad news. This is small talk, niceties. It might start out with something positive. And then reasons, explain the causes of the bad news before disclosing it. Then you kind of bridge into what's going on that causes bad news. Then you reveal the bad news and provide an alternative or compromise if there's any possible. Then closing. End with a personalized, forward-looking, pleasant statement, avoid referring to the bad news. Okay. So, learning outcome 3. Explain the components of effective negative messages, including opening with a buffer, apologizing, showing empathy, presenting the reasons, cushioning the bad news, and closing pleasantly. Okay. So, here we have what is a buffer, device that reduces the shock or pain, neutral but meaningful statement that makes the reader continue reading, concise, relevant opening that provides natural transition to the explanation that follows. Okay, so here's various types: compliment, appreciation, agreement, facts, understanding, best news, and then apologizing, admission of blameworthiness and regret for an undesirable event. Apologize to customers. Apologize costs nothing, but they go a long way to find soothing hard feelings. And sincere apologies work and may even affect the bottom line. Mm-hmm. Presenting the reason for the negative news. Explain the reason leading up to the denial. Cite the reader benefit or benefits. Explain the rationale. Choose positive words and show fairness. Other techniques for cushioning it: position the bad news strategically. Use the passive voice. Strategically could be like a sandwich. You have good news, bad news, good news. That's strategically. Okay. Passive voice would be like third person. Highlight the positives if relevant, if there are any. Imply the refusal and suggest a compromise or alternative. Closing pleasantly, forward looking, alternative if there is one. Good wishes that you wish them nothing but the best. freebies, send them a coupon if that's um, effective or uh, something that would be looked at as positive, not negative. And resale or sales promotion, invite the reader to consider your other products or services. Okay. I always look at if you ever watch Let's Make a Deal and someone gets zonked every once in a while, Wayne Brady will say maybe you'll be invited back to the Zonk Redemption Day show that they have once a year. So that would be like closing pleasantly if someone got zonked. Okay, learning outcome 4, apply effective techniques for refusing typical requests or claims, as well as for presenting bad news to customers in print or online, saying no to typical requests and claims, requests for money, claims from disappointed customers, credit refusals, rate of increase, serious problems with orders or invitations. Again, the buffer, start with a neutral statement, include key idea that acts as a transition, a bridge to the next one, prevent valid reason for the refusal, avoid words that create negative tone. Bad news de-emphasizes the bad news by using passive voice, accentuating the positives. Even if you refuse them for a car loan, you may say, well, this is because of such and such, and you can repair or fix or change that by doing X, Y, and Z. And then once that's done, you can come back and we can relook at the situation and see if it can be approved or something like that. Okay, and then closing. Renew good feelings, avoid referring to the bad news, include resales or sales promotion, and look forward to continued business. Okay, and then going down here, there's a little cartoon about it. Then the final learning outcome for this chapter. Describe and apply effective techniques for delivering the bad news within the organization. Managing bad news within the organization, telling the boss that something went wrong, confronting the employee about poor performance, announcing declining profits, which is happening a lot now with layoffs and things like that because of the shutdown, which this has to happen quite a bit. Delivering bad news in person, decide whether the negative information is worth mentioning. Leave trivial, non-criminal mistakes on one-time bad news behavior alone. Report fraudulent travel claims, consistent hostile behavior, or failing projects. Use the indirect strategy if you know the news will upset the receiver. Okay, and announcing bad news to individuals or groups. And explain the past, present, future. Prepare and rehearse. Gather all the information. Considering taking a colleague. Think about timing. Be patient with the reaction. Okay, and that's the end for chapter 7. So now we go into chapter 8. Okay, chapter 8, persuasive messages. First learning outcome, explain digital age persuasion and identify time-proven persuasive techniques. Okay, so understanding persuasion in the digital age, persuasive skills are ever more important. Learn to cooperate hierarchies, blurring lines of authority, reliance on teams, savvy, well-informed consumers. If they want to find out if somebody else has a better price, it takes them all of 30 seconds to do that. Okay, so price may not, if you say you have the lowest price, you should have the lowest price because they're going to find out if you don't very quickly. How has persuasion changed in the digital age? Volume, um, going viral. Organizations of all types are in the persuasion business. Persuasive techniques are more subtle and misleading. Persuasion is complex and impersonal. With all the algorithms that are out there, anything you look up on the internet, you're going to find advertisements on the following websites after you look something up for something similar or something that would be keyed into whatever you search. So if you search climate in Peru for July, then you're going to have a ton of advertisements on trips to Peru, hotels in Peru, resorts in Peru, all those types of things. Or it could be just to the Bahamas or to any tropical place. Anything that someone wants to advertise that has to do with anything related to what you just did a search on. Those are all the persuasive types of changes in the digital age. The effective persuasion techniques, expert and overcome resistance, tie facts to benefits, establish credibility, make a reasonable specific request, recognize the power of the loss, share solutions, and compromise. Although compromise is pretty bad, I would never recommend a compromise. You'd find a win-win situation if at all possible, because when you compromise, both sides lose something. If you have win-win, then neither side loses anything, which is a much more uh, positive outcome than both sides losing something, which is a compromise. Learning outcome 2, craft persuasive messages that request action. So writing a plan of persuasive requests. You have your opening, which captures attention. You have your body, which builds the interest. And you have your closing, which motivates action. If there's not a motivation of action, if it's not a call to action, is what it's often referred to, then there's no reason for it. If I just advertise something or just talk to you about something and then don't close with some type of cause for action or closing that's a motivation for action, then it really was pointless for us to talk about this because you're not going to do anything and I won't accomplish anything. Running outcome 3 is write compelling claims and deliver successful complaints. Okay, so writing effective persuasion claims and complaints. Develop a claim message logically, perhaps open with a praise or a point of agreement. Review what you have done, resolve the problem. Okay? If you have a weakness, and let's face it, every argument or every type of persuasion has a weakness. Every product has a weakness, every company has a weakness. You should start out with the weakness first. For example, I believe it was Avis had a marketing campaign where it said, "We're number two and we try harder." Okay, so they're already admitting that they're not the biggest, but they're saying that because they're not the biggest, they try harder. Okay, so whatever the weakness is, you should start out with that and then say how you're trying to overcome it. Okay, adopt a moderate tone. Next learning outcome, understand interpersonal persuasion at work and compose persuasive messages within the organization. So crafting persuasive messages in digital age organization so that it's completely different because of all the openness and the quickness of everything. Persuasive requests may include the following: participating in volunteer projects, running programs to stop smoking, lose weight, or start exercising. Okay, persuading the boss, message flowing upward. Focus on evidence such as facts and figures. If possible, quantify the benefits. Make it impersonal, neutral, where it's just facts and not emotion. Okay. Learning outcome 5, create effective and ethical direct mail or an email for sales messages. Write a plan of sales messages, AIDA, offering gain attention, build interest, motivate action, and then attention, interest, desire, and action. Here's the persuasive message. Okay, and we're almost out of time. So we'll end it with this. Reviewing persuasive tweets. Strategic business tweets are most effective when they are concise, clever, subtle, and helpful. Okay, and that's the end of chapter 8. Hope you have a great week. Let me know if you have any questions. Take care.